you kind of get to this decision, and why was now the time?
Yeah, I want to answer that question. Let me first start saying again, thank you to Shelty. He worked his tail off for 5+ years here, gave it everything he possibly had. I'm confident in saying that. Always available year-round, put his whole life into it. And his family, certainly Allie, his kids and parents became part of the organization, and we're gonna miss that. So, you know, there's no one thing. We aren't performing the way we need to. We're not performing in a way that our fans deserve. We know we need to be better. I think as I looked at the end of last year, August and September, and how April and the first few days of May have played out, it just became clear that a change was necessary and that we were not in a position to wait any longer.
Ben, you think he lost some of the players? Right over here, sorry. You think he lost some of the players or the locker room, the clubhouse at all?
I don't have any evidence for that. I think we look at the total performance, and we're all responsible for that. This certainly isn't all on Shelty. We're all responsible. Certainly starts with me. I'm more responsible than anyone. We need to perform better, and that's the bottom line. This wasn't about any single player, particular player, any single event, any single day. Accumulation over the last part of last year and the early part of this year, and just became clear to me that in order to move forward and get the Pirates back moving in the direction we need to move, that a change was necessary to give ourselves the best chance to do that.
Why do you think Don Kelly is the guy to get this thing turned around?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Start with who he is as a person. This is someone who cares way more about the Pirates, the city, cares more, way more about the people in that clubhouse than he does about himself. He's just an elite human being and teammate, and comes to the ballpark every day focused on only one thing, how to help this team get better. It's truly not about him, as never has been. It will need to be a little bit more now as manager, and I think he understands that. But I have so much faith in the combination of the human he is and the skills he has, and the reasons he does the job. He does it for only one reason: to help the Pirates, because he believes in the Pirates and wants to deliver for Pittsburgh.
There is no interim tag on this. Is this a permanent move for Don? Is there another corresponding move to replace him on the bench?
It's permanent for 2025, and we're focused on 2025 and not getting past 2025. And because it became clear it was permanent for 2025, we chose not to use any other words to describe it. I have a lot of confidence in him doing that job for 2025. And this just happened, really quickly. And my first conversation with Donnie about it was this morning, and so we haven't had time yet to get to all of the other potential adjustments. I wouldn't be surprised if we have some adjustments to make sure that we're supporting him, Donnie, and the entire team as best we possibly can for the remainder of 2025. It's very important to me and very important to Donnie that he's in a position to actually do the manager's job and not do the job he was just doing. So we need to make sure that we're reallocating all of the bench coach duties somehow in another direction, and I expect we'll have more clarity on that in the coming days.
You talk about the urgency to turn things around here, and obviously the manager is just one part of that. What other solutions are you looking at to turn around the on-field product specifically?
Yeah. Again, it's on all of us. It's on every person in the organization, but certainly from a baseball perspective, it starts with me. Everybody in our clubhouse is responsible. I believe we all need to do our jobs better, can do our jobs better. I believe we will. I don't think you have to squint too hard to see a stronger team on the field in 2025. I believe we have the players in the organization that will help us do that. I also believe we have players currently on the team who are capable of providing more. Also believe I certainly have to find ways to continue to make the roster better and support the team in different ways. So it's got to be all in. It's not on one person, it's on everybody, but it certainly starts with me.
Ben, I know the release said the Pittsburgh Pirates announced. Was this your decision? Was this from above? Who's the scope of those made the decision?
Yeah, ultimately I made a recommendation to Bob and Travis that we make this change. Bob supported that recommendation, and that all happened in the last, really over the course of the latter part of yesterday, and I met with Derek this morning.
I know you're not going to, shovel dirt if that's the right term, but I mean, you brought him back last year when probably a lot of people maybe thought you shouldn't. You had a reason for that. What was your reason for bringing him back and then making the change so quickly this year?
Yeah, I think back to last year, and as of the beginning of August, we believed that we were headed in a positive direction. We believed we were making progress. Not enough, not fast enough, but we believed that we were making progress, and we thought there was evidence for that. And then we had a very difficult August, and that led to a difficult end of the season last year. But as I look back at that, I felt like for most of 2024, we were seeing that progress, and then we got punched in the face in the last 2 months. And we all were learning from that. We all did learn a lot from that, and I believed at the time that we were capable of continuing the progress from July, and that we could overcome the difficult thing that happened in August and keep this thing going forward. And I believed that Shelty had the will to do that and was gonna continue to do all the work he needed to do to be a part of that. And so that was the recommendation I made. And what's happened now is that we've now had a little bit more of a month of very difficult performance that adds on top of the difficult ending from 2024. And I think it's the combination of those two things that ultimately brought us to today.
Ben, you talked about everyone needing to do their jobs better, to get to the product you guys want to get to. Do you feel you're still the right person for your job?
Yeah, I feel just as much energy and commitment to this job as I have from the day I got it. I do this job only to serve the Pirates, only because I want to be part of delivering a team that our fans are proud of. That's it, period. That's the reason to get up. That's the reason to come in here, do the work to do that. I believe that's going to happen. I know that there's frustration that it hasn't happened, and maybe anger that it hasn't happened yet. I believe it's going to happen. I believe strongly I am going to be a part of making it happen. I have a lot of confidence in our baseball operations group. We got to get better. I know that, period.
Ben, at the end of last year, you said you and Derek Shelton would be accountable together coming into the season. Was there anything that changed between then and 38 games into this year where the product hasn't been exactly what?
No, we're both accountable, and I am still accountable right now. We were in this together every minute up until this morning, and it makes it a very difficult conversation. It makes it a very difficult choice. It makes it a very difficult conversation. Certainly not lost on me that my part of that accountability, if I had done my job perfectly for 5 years, might not be meeting with you today. That's certainly possible. So I own that completely. This is not all on Shelty. And I believe that it became clear to me that this was a choice, however difficult, this was a choice we needed to make. And I certainly feel accountable going forward.
How did that conversation go with Shelty?
As you'd expect from Shelty, he's a pro. Obviously, we've gotten to know each other really well. It was a somber moment. He handled it like a pro. I don't think he was completely shocked. He's a grown-up. He's been in the game for a long time. He knows what can happen when the performance is the way it has been recently. So it was a relatively short conversation. I'm sure I'll follow up with him again at some point.
Ben, you guys talked in the spring training leading up to the season about winning on the margins. Probably argue that hasn't happened to anybody's satisfaction so far. But why not? What is led to the issues that have been pervasive there?
It's an interesting question because, you know, I do believe that's certainly part of what has to happen in Pittsburgh. It's not the only thing, but it's certainly part of what has to happen. And you know, when I think about that statement, you know, where I first go is, okay, are we playing defense? Are we playing defense really well? We're running the bases. By and large, we have done those things. You know, our team defense has been good, at least as far as our measurement is concerned. Our team defense has been good this year. Our base running largely has been good. We haven't executed perfectly in every situation. We've had some combination of some, you know, difficult bullpen moments, or, you know, bad luck bullpen moments, or maybe occasions when we didn't have like our best guys out, or our best guys weren't available for whatever reason and cost us. So that's could be winning on the margins, I suppose. But the biggest thing is just run scoring. We got to score more runs, and some of that's winning on the margins. Some of that's, you know, executing in certain offensive situations and doing that consistently. I agree with that, but some of that's just players getting to career norms, and some of that's, you know, young players leveling up, finding another level, and some of that's the roster just getting stronger, and that's on me. So I agree that we need to win on the margins. I don't personally believe that, you know, that's the reason that we are where we are. I think we have been doing some of winning on the margins, probably not enough, and there's other reasons why we're losing games.
What are those?
Well, again, the biggest one is just we're not scoring enough runs.
Okay.
And I understand you can say, like, if you don't get a runner in from third base with less than 2 outs, I suppose you can call that a sort of fundamental, or a situational, a situation to execute on, and maybe that's winning on the margins. But it's also just part of the overall offense. It's just been a bit of a perfect storm. Again, we have some players who are not performing to their standard. We also have a number of players who, at least based on our measurements, are hitting into a lot of bad luck and are hitting below what what the expected should be. We have had injuries, no doubt, that have made it harder to keep a full complement of players in the deepest lineups we can out there. And then, you know, there's still opportunity over time, and this is on me, to just make the roster better, period. So the combination of all those things adds up to not scoring enough runs, and that's been the biggest culprit. It's not a lack of effort, you know, it's not a lack of effort from the hitting group or the individual players. You know, we just got to get to better run scoring.
And when you make a decision like this, do you take the temperature of any of the guys in the clubhouse or any assistant coaches, or is this strictly performance based?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
I mean, are you taking, you know, are you asking any
on
guys
the
in the
decision.
clubhouse? Yeah, for the
No,
decision.
I mean, look, in this position, you get all kinds of feedback from all kinds of people, and some of that's direct and some of it's indirect, and it's my job to like process all of that the best I can, and you know, try to put it into context and make recommendations that are best for the Pirates. So feedback comes from a lot of places, including players. That comes over time. I haven't had any individual conversations with players recently about that. We're observing the team and how we're performing, and the player group, from everything that I can see and tell, is really trying together to stay together and stay in it, and be accountable, and that gives me some confidence that we will get to a better team in 2025.
What is it about Don's personality that you think he can get the best out of everybody? You kind of explained why he's in the role that he's in. What makes you think that he's the type of guy that can kind of get the best out of these guys and get them to perform the way you want?
Yeah, I think he's got certainly a calm about him. He's played in Pittsburgh. He's certainly of Pittsburgh. He understands the uniqueness of the place, and he cares about it a lot. I think he's got a teacher's heart. I think he wakes up thinking about how to help someone else, and that does not mean that it's gonna miraculously turn into, you know, massively different results right away. That's not how the game works. We know that, right? But over time, believe that his approach and personality and style can have a positive effect on our players. And but just as importantly, we got to support him, and I've got to do my job better. We all have to do our jobs better so that he can do his as well.
Then in the offseason, the decisions, you know, you guys talked about like in the last season when you score more runs. The decisions were to kind of make changes on the coaching staff. You didn't, you know, outside of trading for Spencer and then getting Tommy and Adam at the end of, you know, basically at the end of free agency, you didn't really do much to upgrade the major league roster. Why, when you look, have you done enough to improve the personnel on this team to be competitive to where you want it to go?
Well, there's certainly more that we wanted to do. There's always more in an off season that you want to do, and for whatever reason you can't execute on, you know, whatever. There can be different reasons for that. You know, I think we came off of last year, yes, certainly knowing that offensive production was going to be important and we needed to take a step forward. We wanted to add to the offensive group, add meaningfully if we could. There was a few spots on the roster that it made sense to do that in. We re-signed Kutch as a first step, and that was probably somewhat expected. And then once Kutch is in place, then you sort of look at the rest of the team, what your resources are, and what can the targets be, and you go after those targets the best we can. So at that point, we look at, okay, we know Cruz has moved to center field, and we know Reynolds is going to play in one of the corner spots. At that, you know, if we look back to the next offseason. Well, all right, well then we want to add to a different corner spot. We know we've got guys like Sawinski and others who are capable of stepping up and producing in those spots, but we want to add to the corner spot. We have pursued a number of things on that front. Excuse me. And ultimately signed Tommy and felt like his track record of performance and the mentality and toughness he would bring to our team made sense. It's been a rough start, and it's not anything, you know, he's working his tail off and doing everything he can to get on track. He hasn't gotten to the level that he expects of himself yet. Elsewhere, look around the infield. Obviously, we knew Key coming back was going to be important. There's a ton of effort by him in the offseason and by our staff to make sure he's coming into spring training in a good spot physically. That's mostly held up. We know the defense is going to be there. We're hoping for him to be physically in a spot where he can take another step offensively. And he's had his moments. Still see potential there offensively. You know, we haven't seen that next level out of him yet. It could still be there. We had traded for Izzy to solidify the shortstop position. I feel like he mostly has done that. Second base, we come into the spring training feeling like between Nick, the two Nicks, and Tree and Frazier, we have enough quality and enough competition there that we can have a good second base solution. A lot of those guys have been hurt or held up by something. And then, yeah, we traded for Spencer, knowing that first base was a hole last year and wanting to upgrade. Unfortunately, we had a tough setback in January with the injury. He's on his way back now. We've tried to supplement that with Endy playing there, and then he got hurt, and Valdi playing there, and he's fighting through something now. So it's that's why I mentioned, like, you know, a lot of things happening that have made it harder to get to that deepest roster we can, deepest lineup. And at the catching position, we felt like between Bart and Henry and Endy, we have, you know, three really talented guys there, and that there's going to be a good solution out of that group. Still feel there can be. That's a long-winded explanation to why we felt some optimism that we would have a stronger group. Some things have gotten in the way of that. Injuries, underperformance. It's also early May. You know, we may still have a much stronger group, a much stronger position group in 2025. I think we can.
Ben, did you say at the beginning of that there was more you wanted to do?
Trades, free agency, sure. There's always
Okay.
more that you chase down in the offseason than you
Okay, I just for clarity purposes, there was more that you wanted to do this past offseason than you actually
Well,
got.
that would be true in every offseason.
Okay.
There's always more things you chase down than you actually do.
Okay.
And, you know, specifically on the offensive side, yeah, there were corner offensive targets that we chased down that we didn't get. And, you know, that kind of thing is gonna happen in any offseason.
Ben, there's been a lot of negative off-the-field things happening this early part of the season with this organization, and I realize that it doesn't directly impact playing on the field. But does negativity seep into the clubhouse at all when you get, when it just seems to be one bad headline after another?
I don't know. I think the losing is what people care about inside the clubhouse. I think the results on the field are generally mostly what people care about. In the clubhouse, I believe there's a high level of accountability for that. That's what's weighing on people more than anything else. And I believe that number one, we just want to win. All of us, we want to win. We're competitive, and it's not happening as much as we needed to and want to. But I do believe, I certainly speak for myself, I believe this group wants to do it for Pittsburgh. I believe that. I believe we want to deliver to our fans what they want. I understand there's a lot of frustration and some anger out there about that right now.
Do you have a message to them as far as, the ones who have given up on the season already, for the fans? A message for the fans?
Just that I believe we have the will to make this better, and I believe we will. And I don't believe you have to squint too hard to see a better team in 2025. I really don't. I'm not blind to the fact we've dug ourselves a hole, and we got to climb out of that. No way to do it but a pitch at a time. We all roll in that.
With that whole, what does a successful season look like for the Pirates in 2025 from this point forward?
I'm just focused on right now and tomorrow. I think we can. I think that will become more clear as we get deeper into the season. I think our focus right now is I want to support Donnie in any way we can. I want to support this team in any way we can. I want to hunt the things that will make us incrementally better. Certainly, do everything we can there. I want to help our injured players get back. I want to help. I want to do everything we can to give ourselves a better chance to play better on the field, and let's focus on that for a while, and we'll get back to the season question a little bit later.
You stated that a lot of this falls on you, earlier in the presser, and also that you want to do everything you can to help Donnie. How concerned are you about your own sort of job security at this point? I think there's been a lot of criticism of both you and Shelty, and plenty to go around to begin the season. How have you reacted to the impact on you?
Yeah. I think I sort of referenced it before, but I understand. It's part of the deal, right? Like if you accept this job and you're in it for this long and the results aren't there yet, that's gonna be there. And simple terms, like it's just about winning more games. We gotta find a way to win more games. Like you can do the forensic thing on every front office in baseball and find things that go well and find things that don't go well. We gotta improve. We gotta improve our results. I do this job because I love the work and I love the opportunity to help the Pirates and serve in a way that serves our fans, that delivers to our fans. I don't do it for any other reason.